Ladies and gentlemen, when God begins to move in your life, it doesn't always come with thunder, lightning, or grand miracles that everyone can see. More often than not, his guidance arrives in ways so quiet and so subtle that the average person dismisses them as coincidence, luck, or random chance. The truth is, there are no coincidences when it comes to divine order. Every shift, every encounter, every small nudge that stirs when your heart is a whisper from above, trying to get your attention. Most people are waiting for something dramatic, like a booming voice from the clouds or a sudden miracle that transforms everything overnight. But God doesn't need theatrics to guide you. He doesn't have to shake the earth to prove he is near. Instead, he plants subtle signs, little nudges of direction, unexpected opportunities, and even gentle interruptions in your life that are designed to steer you into alignment with his plan. The whisper is often overlooked because the noise of the world is too loud. The distractions of social media, the opinions of other people, the stress of financial struggles, the chaos of daily life, all of these drown out that still small voice that is constantly trying to help you. That voice shows up when you feel something inside telling you, don't go there, or call this person, or try again, even though you failed. It's not your imagination. That's a whisper. When you suddenly feel peace about a decision that scared you for months, that's a whisper. When a door closes in your life that you desperately wanted to walk through, but somehow you know deep down it wasn't right for you, that's a whisper too. Most people fight against these signs. They call them disappointments, rejections, or bad luck. But in reality, those very things are God's way of helping you avoid destruction. You prayed for help, but maybe you didn't realize help doesn't always look like an open door. It sometimes looks like a closed one. The whisper often comes in alignment with timing. You'll notice how sometimes you're delayed by traffic or slowed down by interruptions, and you become frustrated. Yet later, you realize that delay kept you safe or led you to meet someone who shifted your perspective. That is no accident. That is divine intervention disguised as inconvenience. But because we expect the extraordinary, we miss the ordinary miracles happening around us daily. You see, the human mind has been conditioned to only recognize help when it looks glamorous, but real help often comes clothed in simplicity. A random conversation with a stranger, a book that falls into your lap at the exact right time, a thought that interrupts your negative spiral. That's how God works. And here's the challenge. Most people don't trust the whispers. They second guess themselves. They silence that inner guidance by overthinking. They allow fear and doubt to talk them out of what God is whispering into their soul. But the whisper is designed to train your faith. If God shouted every instruction, you would never learn to listen. You would never grow your intuition. You would never develop discernment. The whisper forces you to slow down, to quiet the noise, to trust the unseen. That's why meditation, silence, and stillness are so powerful. In the stillness, you finally hear what has been guiding you all along. The whisper also reveals itself through restlessness. Have you ever noticed how you can no longer feel comfortable in situations you once tolerated? That's a whisper. God is trying to show you that you've outgrown certain environments, but because it doesn't come with fireworks or announcements, you call it boredom or dissatisfaction. In reality, it's divine agitation. You are being nudged to move, to grow, to leave behind the old and step into the new. Ignoring that whisper creates misery. Following it creates destiny. The reason so many people feel stuck is not because God isn't helping them. It's because they keep ignoring the way he is helping them. Pay attention to how your energy shifts around people. Pay attention to the gut feeling that tells you someone isn't being honest. Pay attention to the sudden spark of inspiration that comes in the shower while driving. These are not random. These are whispers of guidance. The problem is not that God isn't speaking. The problem is that you aren't listening. The whispers are everywhere, but they require awareness. And awareness is a skill you must sharpen if you want to recognize how he is truly helping you. The whisper can also come in the form of opportunities that feel too small to matter. People overlook them because they expect something bigger, but every great destiny begins with something small. That coffee meeting, that chance to help someone without expecting anything back. That one idea that keeps coming to you. It doesn't look like a miracle, but it is. God hides blessings in places where only the faithful will look. If you're waiting for a sign, chances are you already received it, but because it wasn't wrapped in gold, you dismissed it. The whisper is your sign. Think about it. The greatest shifts in your life probably didn't come from loud, dramatic moments. They came from a simple decision, a small conversation, a moment of clarity you can't explain. That's how God works. The whisper is not meant to impress you. It's meant to guide you. He doesn't need to prove his power with noise. His power is in the quiet movements that shape everything around you without announcing themselves. The whisper is subtle. But it is the most reliable sign that God is actively helping you right now, even if you can't see it clearly. When difficulties come into your life, the first instinct most people have is to assume something has gone wrong. They begin to believe that God has turned his face away from them, or that they are being punished for something unseen. But this is a shallow way of viewing life, because what you call a struggle is often evidence of divine alignment. It's the training ground where God prepares you for the very thing you've been praying for. You see, if you were given every blessing you desire without preparation, you would not be able to handle it. The truth is, the struggles you face are shaping you into the person capable of receiving and sustaining what you've asked for. Think about the seed planted deep in the soil. It experiences darkness, pressure, and isolation before it ever breaks the surface. That process is not punishment. It is necessary development. Without the weight of the soil pressing down, the seed would never grow roots strong enough to support its future growth. In the same way, when you are pressed by life, when you feel surrounded by challenges on all sides, it is not evidence of abandonment, but of preparation. God is aligning you with strength, with resilience, and with wisdom that only the struggle can produce. Every successful person you admire today carries a story of trials, pain, setbacks, and moments where they almost gave up. If you strip away the struggle, you strip away the strength that defines them. Struggle refines you in ways comfort never will. The fire you walk through is what burns away weakness and reveals your true character. And if you pay attention, you'll notice something interesting. The greatest breakthroughs of your life usually follow the most painful battles. That is not a coincidence, it is divine alignment. What most people call rejection is really redirection. A door closes not because God is denying you, but because he is protecting you from what you cannot see. That relationship ending, that job lost, that failed opportunity, they were not setbacks, they were setups. They were carefully positioned struggles designed to guide you into a greater destiny. But because it came with pain, you assumed it meant punishment. In reality, the pain was a compass pointing you toward where you truly belonged. Consider the process of refining gold. Raw gold is placed in fire, melted down, and purified so that all impurities rise to the surface. Only through intense heat does the gold reach its highest value. Without the fire, it remains ordinary. Your struggles are the fire of refinement. They are not designed to destroy you, but to elevate you, to strip away what no longer serves you, and to make you ready for the blessings waiting ahead. The harder the struggle, the greater the treasure that follows. The alignment becomes clear when you realize that every struggle carries within it a lesson. Some people repeat the same painful patterns because they resist the lesson. They view the challenge only as a burden, not as training. But those who shift their perspective and begin asking, what is this teaching me? What strength is being built in me right now? Find themselves growing in ways they never imagined. That shift in mindset allows them to see the hidden hand of God moving through even their darkest hours. Struggle is also proof that you are in motion. If you were not moving towards something greater, you would not face resistance. A ship that stays in the harbor never battles the waves, but it also never reaches a new destination. When you encounter storms, it means you are on a journey. It means you are stepping into new territory. The resistance is confirmation that you are breaking through into something higher. The mistake people make is believing the storm is evidence they are off course, when in truth, it often means they are right on track. Even your emotions during struggle are part of divine alignment. The frustration you feel, the sadness, the moments of doubt, those emotions are opportunities to strengthen your inner discipline. You are being trained to master your thoughts and feelings so that when greater responsibilities come, you are not shaken by temporary storms. If you cannot control your spirit during small struggles, how will you endure when the blessings are multiplied and the pressure increases? Every trial is not just about what you are going through. It is about who you are becoming in the process. Look back at your own life. Think of the times you thought you would never recover. Think of the seasons where you cried, where you questioned, where you wondered if you had been forgotten. Yet here you are, stronger than you were before, wiser than you once were, and carrying strength you did not possess back then. That is not an accident. That is alignment. Struggle is the evidence that God is helping you, even when it feels like everything is falling apart. If it were punishment, it would leave you broken with no growth. But the fact that you came out stronger proves it was preparation. The truth is, destiny is never built in comfort. Growth always requires stretching, and stretching is uncomfortable. Muscles are built by resistance. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Seeds grow in darkness. Struggles are not detours. They are the very road to destiny. If you stop fighting them and start recognizing them as divine assistance, you'll begin to see how each obstacle is secretly working in your favor. Negative feelings have a way of convincing you that they are who you are, when in reality they are nothing more than passing visitors. Fear, anxiety, doubt, anger, frustration, these emotions come into your life like waves, and if you are not careful, You begin to mistake the wave for the ocean. You begin to believe that because you feel anxious, you must be an anxious person. Because you feel discouraged, you must be a weak person. Because you feel angry, you must be broken inside. But emotions are not your identity. They are simply signals, experiences, temporary states that come and go. If you allow yourself to identify with them, you trap yourself in a prison that was never meant to hold you. Every human being has emotions, and even the strongest, the most disciplined, the most spiritual individuals are not immune to them. The difference between those who rise and those who sink lies in how they respond to those emotions. Some people hand over the keys to their life to fear and let it drive them wherever it wants to go. Others see fear, acknowledge it, and then keep moving forward despite it. The truth is, emotions only have as much power as you give them. When you mistake them for your identity, they dominate you. But when you see them for what they are, temporary visitors, you begin to take back control. Think of it this way, your mind is like a house. Negative emotions knock on the door, and you always have the choice to let them stay or to let them pass. If you open the door and let fear move in, it rearranges your furniture, it clouds your view, and it starts to dictate how you live in your own space. But if you acknowledge its presence, learn what it came to teach you, and then allow it to leave, you maintain ownership of your home. The problem is that most people treat emotions like permanent tenants instead of temporary guests. They start saying things like, I am depressed, instead of I feel depressed, or I am anxious, instead of I feel anxious. That small shift in language shows how deeply they have accepted the emotion as their identity. God allows negative feelings not to punish you, but to teach you how to rise above them. Think of every emotion as training for your spirit. Anxiety trains you to lean into faith. Fear trains you to discover courage. Doubt trains you to seek truth. Anger trains you to learn patience and self-control. Each feeling is a tool in your growth if you are willing to step back and view it correctly. Without struggle, your emotional muscles would never be developed. Without discomfort, your spirit would never learn resilience. The problem comes when people allow negative emotions to dictate their actions and decisions. How many dreams have been abandoned because someone felt fear and assumed that meant they were not meant to pursue it? How many relationships have been destroyed because anger was mistaken for truth rather than a temporary surge of emotion? How many lives have been limited because doubt was treated like reality instead of just a fleeting thought? This is why it is so important to remember that emotions are not facts. Just because you feel something does not mean it is true. Just because you feel unworthy does not mean you are unworthy. Just because you feel hopeless does not mean your situation is hopeless. Your emotions are like the weather, they change. Some days the sky is clear and some days storms roll in, but no storm lasts forever. If you learn to observe your feelings without identifying with them, you gain power over them. That power comes from perspective. When you know who you are, when you know you are a child of God, created with purpose, destined for greatness, you stop allowing temporary storms to define your identity. You can walk through fear without becoming fearful. You can feel sadness without living as a broken person. You can experience anger without being consumed by it. The enemy's greatest trick is to convince you that negative emotions mean weakness or failure. But the truth is, the presence of those emotions is a sign of your humanity, not your defeat. You cannot stop feelings from arising, but you can decide whether to let them control you. Imagine if every time fear arose, instead of running away, you leaned into action. Imagine if every time doubt whispered in your ear, you answered back with truth. Imagine if every time anger surfaced, you turned it into discipline and focus. Your emotions would no longer be enemies. They would become raw materials for your growth. And here's what's powerful. The very emotions that once held you back can become the foundation of your strength. The person who once felt crushed by anxiety can become the one who inspires others to find peace. The person who once struggled with fear can become a voice of courage. The person who once battled doubt can become a beacon of faith. This transformation happens the moment you stop identifying with negative feelings and start seeing them as part of the process shaping you into who you are meant to be. The reality is that emotions are energy, and energy can be redirected. Fear can be converted into focus. Anger can be turned into determination. Doubt can become curiosity. Sadness can deepen your empathy. Every negative feeling carries within it a positive seed, but you must train yourself to look for it. When you stop saying, this is who I am, and start saying, this is what I'm experiencing, you regain your authority. You realize that you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds the storm. You are not the wave. You are the ocean that carries the wave. The storm will pass, the wave will settle, but your true identity remains unshaken. Faith and fear are two forces that cannot occupy the same space at the same time, and whichever one you feed will dominate your life. Faith is the force that pulls you forward into the unknown with confidence, while fear is the force that freezes you in place, convincing you that the unknown is dangerous. Faith builds momentum, and momentum is what creates breakthroughs. Fear builds paralysis, and paralysis is what kills dreams. The difference between those who create extraordinary destinies and those who remain trapped in mediocrity is not talent, not opportunity, not even intelligence. It is the choice to lean into faith rather than bow down to fear. Think of all the times you had an idea stirring inside you, an inspiration, a vision of something greater, and right alongside it came a flood of fearful thoughts. What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? What if I lose money? What if people laugh? That is fear whispering to you, trying to paralyze your actions before they begin. Now think of the times you moved anyway, even though you were afraid. Maybe your voice shook, maybe your hands trembled, maybe you felt uncertain, but you took the step. What happened? Momentum happened. The very act of moving shifted your energy, doors opened that you couldn't see before, and you realized fear was an illusion the entire time. Fear thrives in imagination. It paints worst-case scenarios, builds false realities, and convinces you to believe in disasters that don't even exist. Faith also thrives in imagination, but instead of inventing destruction, it envisions possibilities. Faith takes the unseen and treats it as though it were already real. Both are invisible forces, but one enslaves you while the other frees you. Every single day you are faced with the choice: will you let your imagination build prisons, or will you let it build bridges? Momentum is critical because life rewards movement. When you act in faith, even if it's a small step, you generate energy that multiplies. Opportunities start to appear. People show up to help. Clarity comes as you go. But when you let fear stop you, the opposite occurs. You stay in the same place, overthinking, waiting for the right time, which never arrives. Paralysis becomes a cycle. The more you hesitate, the weaker your faith becomes. And the weaker your faith becomes, the more powerful fear grows. It's like a muscle. Faith grows stronger with use. Fear grows stronger with neglect. The reason many never reach their destiny is not because God isn't helping them or because they don't have potential, but because they allow fear to silence their steps. Faith was never meant to be an emotion. It was meant to be an action. You don't wait until you feel fearless to move. You move, and the feeling of fear begins to shrink in the presence of your courage. Most people wait for the fear to go away before taking action, but that's not how it works. The fear doesn't disappear until you walk through it. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of it. God honors movement. He doesn't part the sea until you step into the water. He doesn't reveal the next step until you take the first. This is why so many people stay stuck praying for answers, but never moving. They're waiting for certainty before acting. But certainty never comes first. Faith is the willingness to move without certainty, to trust that even though you cannot see the full staircase, each step will appear as you climb. When you live like this, you begin to see that miracles are not random. They are attracted to momentum. Fear disguises itself as logic, as caution, as responsibility. But underneath it is always the same lie. You are not enough. You are not ready. You are not capable. Faith speaks with the opposite tone. You are more than enough. You are already equipped. You are capable because God is with you. These two voices compete every time you face a decision. The tragedy is that most people trust the voice of fear because it feels safer, but safe is just another word for stuck. Destiny is never built in the comfort zone. Every person who changed their life stepped into risk, uncertainty, and discomfort. Momentum is a powerful force because once you begin, even the smallest action creates ripple effects. When you make a decision in faith, sign up for the class, invest in the vision, speak to the person, share your story. You may not see the result immediately, but you have shifted your energy and life begins to respond. Fear convinces you to wait until the timing is perfect, but faith knows the perfect time is always now. The longer you delay, the heavier the fear becomes. The sooner you act, the lighter your spirit feels, and that lightness builds momentum into something unstoppable. Even biologically, fear paralyzes the body. Your muscles tense, your breathing shallows, your mind races with survival instincts. This paralysis is useful if you are facing a lion, but destructive when you are facing opportunity. Faith does the opposite. It energizes the body, it creates hope, releases strength, and fuels determination. The more you practice faith-driven action, the more your body and mind become conditioned to see opportunities instead of threats. Fear shrinks your world. Faith expands it. Fear makes you doubt the future. Faith makes you build it. Fear kills possibility before it's born. Faith breathes life into it. Every great destiny is written in steps of faith, not in the avoidance of fear. Look back at history, at leaders, inventors, visionaries, and you will see the same truth. None of them were fearless, but all of them refused to be paralyzed. They acted, and their actions created momentum that carried them far beyond what they imagined. That same force is available to you. If you feel fear right now, it is only proof that you are standing at the edge of something greater. If you act, faith will carry you forward. If you hesitate, fear will hold you back.